Hello and welcome to the Cannabis Control Board's Principal and Owner Required Training. If you are looking for the employee training, please note that that is a separate video. This training is meant to fulfill the requirement in Rule 2.2.5a. A principal or owner of a licensed cannabis establishment should complete this training once every 3 years. Today's training will give an overview of the inventory tracking system. A short quiz will be available after the video. The quiz is how the CCB will track your credit for this course, so please be sure to complete it. CCB Rule 2.2.6 is where inventory tracking is addressed. It says in part that all cannabis and cannabis products must be tracked using the inventory tracking system from the time the cannabis is grown by a cultivator until it is sold to a consumer by a retailer. These forms can be accessed in the CCB portal. We have forms for transfers, acquisitions, manufacturers, and loss reporting. There is a full guidance document related to inventory tracking that we encourage everyone on this training to read. When do I have to fill out inventory tracking? A cannabis establishment must reconcile all on-premises and in-transit cannabis or cannabis product inventories each month and must complete the reconciliation within 15 days of the end of each month. Access. An inventory tracking system may be accessed only by actively licensed cannabis establishments and their designees. If cannabis or cannabis product is not ultimately transferred to another establishment or sold to a consumer, it must be disposed of properly, and the disposal must be entered into the inventory tracking system. Accuracy. Cannabis establishments and the individuals using the system are responsible for the accuracy of all information entered into the inventory tracking system. Any misstatements or omissions may be considered a license violation affecting public safety. Transfers of cannabis. Transfers must be reported by all license types when any cannabis or cannabis products are moved between licenses. The harvest process lot or manufacturer process lot numbers, registered products, unregistered products, quantities, and date of transfer will be reported by the sender. Acquisitions. Acquisitions must be reported by all license types when any cannabis or cannabis products are transferred. Once the sender submits a transfer form, the inventory tracking system will notify the receiving license via email. That will include an inventory tracking ID, which you will receive via email. The acquisition form will prompt the receiver for the inventory tracking ID associated with the transfer. When the receiving license enters the tracking ID into the acquisition form, the receiver is prompted to verify transfer details and submit the acquisition form as a confirmation of the transaction. Retail reporting. Point-of-sale systems must report sales in real time to the Inventory Tracking System Application Programming, or API. Provided, however, that systems in place prior to July 15, 2025 may be retained until obsolete if capable of reporting data at least every 24 hours. If you have questions about this API requirement, please reach out to us via email, ccb.info@vermont.gov. Loss of cannabis. All licensees will report any loss of material or product on the inventory tracking loss form. Loss of plant material is reported by weight. Loss of product is tracked by product quantities. This form will be used to report any loss, including samples sent to other licensees, loss from contamination, and waste. Theft of cannabis or cannabis product valued at more than $1,000 must also be reported to state or local law enforcement. A few definitions. Harvest lot means cannabis grown in the same manner. To meet the criteria for a single harvest lot, the given lot of cannabis would need to be on the same flowering, fertilizer, and pesticide application schedule. A single harvest lot may contain one or multiple cultivars of cannabis. Growers decide individually how many harvest lots they require. This will vary depending on what works best for a grower's individual business practice. Process lot means whole or partial harvest lots that follow different paths toward market or diverted into waste. For example, a single harvest lot would be broken into two process lots if half was sold fresh frozen to a manufacturer and half was dried, cured, and sold as bulk flower to a retailer. Manufacturer process lots are whole or partial manufacturer lots that follow different paths to market or are transferred to other licenses for further processing. Manufacturer lot reporting can follow three paths. If it's just plant material, then provide harvest process lots. Concentrate or extract, provide a manufacturer process lots. Plant material and concentrate, provide harvest process lots for plant material and provide manufacturer process lots for concentrate or extract. In each case, the person entering a manufacturing lot will be prompted for source material harvest process lots and/or manufacturer process lots. The manufacturer lot number is traceable back to all the harvest lots that went into the manufacturer lot. Once the final cannabis product is ready to be sold, the manufacturer process lot must be printed on the product label. Next, we'll go through a demonstration of the inventory tracking form.
All right, so now we're going to demonstrate the functionality of the transfer and acquisition forms in the CCB inventory tracking system. So right now I'm logged in as a cultivator, and we're going to demonstrate transfer of flower material from the cultivator license to a retail license and from the cultivation license to a manufacturer. And then we'll go and we'll log in as those other licensees, the retailer and the manufacturer, and we'll show that acquisition form and how to run that process. So first of all, we're going to go to create new inventory tracking reports and go to the transfer reporting button. We're going to select your cultivation license and just confirm that that is correct. And then now we want to enter in the receiver license number. So right now we're going to be transferring to a test retailer account, and that ends in 0119. So I can just type in a few numbers and the system will find any of those licenses with those same numbers. I want the retailer. So again, this is a test account. I can confirm that's correct. And now it wants to know, is the product registered or not? And I will hit no. At first, we'll do a non-registered and then we'll do a registered product. So this is non-registered flower. So just think of it as a bulk flower transfer. And you see that the process lot field here has become visible, and this is a required field, so we want to make sure that we fill this in. It's really important that we have our process lots, and in this instance we're going to be transferring this FL-2-2 lot, but I'm just going to enter in here 2-2, and as you'll see, it'll reduce the process lots that are visible. So that'll be handy if you have lots of process lots and you're just typing in those last few digits or letters to help you find that process lot. So now that I've entered that in, I'm going to put in the product name, and this is bulk flower. So I'm just going to call it CCB test strain. And then, so this will be helpful when you're doing transfers to put the specific strain name of the flower that you're transferring to another license. I'm going to select the date and the weight. I did 1,000 grams, and we'll just say it was $5 per gram. And we're going to attest and hit submit. And then I'm going to add another product. I'm going to add a registered flower product. So this is a pre-packed flower jar. And so I'm going to say yes. We see this, please search and select product registration number. So I know that one of the product registrations that I have is 4321. And this is our test environment. So these product registration numbers aren't going to necessarily match what is in production. And then again, we see the process lot number. I'm going to select that same process lot. And then as you see, the question about whether the product is registered is automatically filled in because we indicated it was a registered product, and the product name and product type carry over from product registration system. So all we have to do is select the date of transfer, the cost per gram, and their number of packages. Select 100, and the weight, these are eighth jars, so 3.5 grams, and we attest. Hit submit. You'll see we have an edit button here for each of these. So on this first one, the bulk flour, we can say, oh, it was actually not 1,000 grams, it was 500. So we can make that correction, hit submit. And then if we need to edit the registered product, we could do that, but I'm not going to make any changes. The only note is that you'll see that this is for a registered product, and we know that registered products for flour can accommodate for multiple sizes of that product. So it can apply to the eighth jars or for pre-rolls. And so if you're transferring both or multiple quantities of the same products, if you're transferring eighths of the same strain and pre-rolls of the same strain, those can fall under the same product registration number, but you want to enter those transfers in separately because they're going to have different weights per package. So in this case, we put 3.5 grams. If you were transferring a pre-roll, you know, the weight may be, 0.5 or 1 grams or 0.7, whatever it is, whatever you're making those pre-rolls out to be, you put that weight in there. But the key point is you'll do those separately. So hit submit. And now I'm done entering all the products, but here you would list all the products for that particular transfer. And then once you're done, hit save and next. And then this is where you would attach a copy of the manifest for that transfer. And it's an easy drag in, or you can navigate to upload that file. And once you do that, you'll hit submit. And then that report will show up on your inventory tracking reports. And again, you'll still be able to, you'll see the process lots within that transfer and the product name. And then if you needed to, you can preview that transfer. And in this preview, it shows me the sender license, which is my cultivation, and the retailer license and the products. If you needed to make an edit, you hit the correct button. And here again, it opens us into the report, and these edit buttons are available to use. So if I, needed to make another change here, I could do that, hit submit, and carry on with the rest of the report and submit that. The inventory tracking number will save. And this is the inventory tracking number that will be emailed to the receiving license. So the retailer license that I reported the transfer to will receive an email with this inventory tracking number, and that will be referenced during the acquisition process. So right now I'm going to enter in another transfer. This is to a manufacturer. So I'm going to hit create new inventory tracking report, transfer reporting, select my license again, hit next. And this is to a manufacturer that is 0125. So that manufacturer number shows up, I select it and verify that that license information is correct. Once I do that, I'll hit next. Now I'm going to send unregistered biomass. So I'll select no on the product registration question, and then I'm going to select biomass from the product types. Again, I need to enter in a process lot. This field is required, as with all the other fields, and I'm going to select my lot that has the biomass in it. So this process lot for biomass is being transferred to the manufacturer license. This product name is just going to be CCB, we'll call it test biomass. And you'll just want to provide a product name that is reflective of the product that you're transferring over. The date of transfer, total weight, we'll do 10,000 grams, and the cost per gram. We can enter that in attest. Again, if we need to make an edit, that wasn't 10,000, it was 20,000 grams. I'll make that change. Cost per gram was off. I can make that change and then hit submit. Once that information is correct, you'll hit save and next. But again, if I was adding additional product, if you're sending other biomass or plant material, you would add that here and hit save and next, and then upload your manifest document and hit submit. Now I have a new transfer report, I can see the process logs. I can see the product information. I can preview the report, and that preview button allows me to see the sender license and the receiver license. Or if I need to edit, that correct button is available for me to do that as well. So we'll pause the video now, and then we'll log in as our retail license and our manufacturer license to demonstrate the acquisition process for those licenses. Okay, now I'm logged in as a retailer, and I'm going to demonstrate an acquisition report from the perspective of a retailer. So we previously demonstrated a transfer from a cultivator to a retailer, and we're going to complete the acquisition report for that transfer. So I'll click on Create New Inventory Tracking Reports and click on the Acquisition Reporting button. And now you'll see that a transfer reference ID is required to be entered in here. So I have been emailed that transfer ID number. So I'm going to click in the field, and you'll see there's a couple that are pre-populated, but I want one that ends in 265, and you'll see it there, but I'm just going to demonstrate. If I type in 265 and then click into that field with the cursor, that report shows up. So I'll select that. And once I select it, you'll see the license information. You see the sender, this is the cultivator, and the receiver license. That's the license I'm logged into now. And once I verify that's correct, I hit next. And then after I hit next, the products that were involved in that transfer will populate. And you'll see this update details button. I'm going to need to select that update details button for each item that was entered in the transfer. So I'll select the top one. And once I verify that these are correct, I'll be able to attest and submit. But these are all fields that you can edit if there's a discrepancy in what was reported here and what you received on the manifest or what you actually physically received. So if there is a difference, you can report a change here, but you want to make sure that you make the change here and notify the licensee that sent the product to your establishment and make sure they make the change on their end as well. So once you verify that this is correct and you click the attestation button, you'll hit submit. And then once you do that, you'll need to do that on the other product. So I hit the second one. And again, I see the information. There's a harvest slot number or a process slot number, the product registration number, the data transfer, the cost. All these can be edited. And if you need to make a change, you can. But again, you want to notify the sending party that you made a change. And you'll hit submit. And once you've updated details on all the products, I can hit save and next. And this is where I would update a copy of the manifest that I received and signed. Once I upload that, I can hit submit, and the report will be finished. Again, if I did need to make a change after the fact, I can still do that. I can go and hit the correct button, update details on one of the products, make that change, attest, and submit. But again, if you make a change, you'll want to make sure that you update the licensee that sent the product to you. Save and next to submit the report, and you're done with that acquisition. So we're going to pause the video, and then we're going to sign in as a manufacturer to do the same thing from the manufacturer side. All right, so now I'm logged in as a manufacturer, and I'm going to demonstrate that acquisition from a manufacturer point of view. So first, we're going to click on Create New Inventory Tracking Reports and select the Acquisition Reporting button. Again, I want to reference my transfer ID, and this one ends in a 266. I'm just going to type that in here, and the system will find that inventory tracking number for me. I want to confirm that the sender and receiver license information is correct. So I can see that this is the cultivator. This is the manufacturing license that I'm logged in as. So I'll hit next. And what the system will do is going to show me what was reported. And I see that there was a process slot of biomass. So I'm going to hit update details. And then the information that was entered in by the cultivator is populated already for me. So I just want to verify that this is correct. And if it's not correct, I can make a change. Again, if there is a change that needs to be made, I can do that on my end. I can change this. It was actually 25,000 grams, and I can attest. But when I make a change here, in order to avoid any flags in the system, we want to make sure that you notify the sending party so that they can update their report. Once I've confirmed or made any changes, I can hit the submit button and then hit save and next once the items in the acquisition report have all been updated. I hit save and next, and this is where I would upload a copy of the manifest and hit submit. Again, if I needed to, I can go back and make a correction to that acquisition report by selecting that correct option and say, actually, yeah, it was 20,000 pounds. There was no correction needed. Hit submit, save and next, and submit. So there's some flexibility to make some corrections, but again, if you do make corrections on the acquisition report, you need to make sure to notify the transfer party so you can make sure that their report has been corrected. And that demonstrates the acquisition process.
Thank you for completing the CCB's Principal and Owner Required Training. In order to make sure you get credit, you'll need to scan the QR code pictured here or enter the URL that's listed in the description of this video.